Are you looking for an affordable yarn for your next crochet or knitting project? Keep watching to find out which of these two yarns from Spotlight will win in a head-to-head battle. For some projects, only the finest hand-spun, hand-dyed merino wool will do, but sometimes you just want an affordable workhorse that you can buy up in bulk without breaking the bank. But cheap acrylic yarns can vary hugely in terms of their feel and quality. So in this review, I'm going to pit two popular yarns from Spotlight against each other to see which one is objectively the better yarn. So let's meet our contestants. Contestant 1 is the Four Seasons Marvel 8-ply. It's a 100% acrylic yarn, and in one ball you get 100 grams and 270 meters. Contestant number 2 is the Semco Stallion 8-ply yarn. This is also 100% acrylic, and you get 100 grams and 230 meters in a ball. Both of these yarns are 8-ply or a DK weight, and they have the same suggested knitting needle size. Neither of them suggest a crochet hook size. But to me, they look to be quite different in terms of their thickness. The Semco yarn just looks a little bit thinner than the Marvel. So I'm just going to double check them in terms of wraps per inch. So the Four Seasons Marvel is approximately 12 wraps per inch by my calculation. Then for the Semco yarn, I get 14 wraps per inch. So typically an 8-ply or a DK weight yarn would be about 11 wraps per inch. So this suggests that actually the Semco yarn is closer to a fingering weight or a 4-ply yarn than an 8-ply, and the Marvel Four Seasons is closer to a sport weight. I'm quite interested to see actually how big the swatches will work up in comparison, given they are meant to be the same weight yarn. So our head-to-head battle today will consist of 6 rounds. Round 1 is selection of colours. Round 2, softness. Round 3, springiness. Basically, does it stretch? Is it easy to work with? Round 4, splitiness. Does it split into its individual yarn strands when you're working with it? Round 5, stitch definition. How clean and tidy do the final stitches look? And round 6, value for money. Round 1, selection of colours. So the Marvel yarn comes in 57 colours, and it's quite a good range of muted shades as well as bright primary colours and neutrals. The Semco, by comparison, only comes in 15 colours, and most of them are brights or neutrals. There isn't really any muted shades. So Marvel is the clear winner of round 1 for selection of colours. Round 2 is softness. This one is also no contest. The Semco yarn is really soft and lovely. It almost feels a little bit like a baby yarn, whereas the Marvel is quite rough and scratchy. It's not a nice feeling yarn at all. So the winner of round 2 for softness is Semco. So to judge springiness, splitiness, and stitch definition, we'll need to work up a swatch. So here are my 2 swatches of half double crochets. The first thing I'll note is these are meant to be the same weight yarn. These are both 8-ply, but they're clearly not. Both swatches here are 20 stitches by 10 rows, but as you can see, the Semco yarn makes a much smaller swatch than this Four Seasons yarn, which is consistent with the wraps per inch test that we did earlier. The Simcoe yarn in particular is just much lighter than a DK or 8-ply yarn. So round 3, springiness. The Marvel Four Seasons yarn is very stiff. It's got no real drape to it at all, and very little stretch as well. It's generally a very stiff yarn, which could make it quite good for kind of home decor or bags, tote bags, that kind of thing. But I think it wouldn't be a great yarn for wearables because it's just so stiff and inflexible. The Simcoe yarn, by comparison, is quite stretchy and it's got much better drape. Noting that that could be partly because I use the same size hook for both swatches, 4mm, but as I say, this is actually a lighter weight yarn than a 8-ply. Having said that, even though this one is springier, I didn't actually find it easier to work with. I think the Four Seasons was actually easier, in part because this one is actually quite slippery. It's got quite a shine to it, if you'll see, compared to the matte of the Four Seasons, and I found it was just quite slippery on my hook and a little bit hard to wrangle as a result. Round 4, splitiness. The Marvel did quite well in terms of splitiness. I don't think it split on me once, and I found I could get up to a decent speed without having to concentrate too hard on accidentally splitting the yarn fibres. By comparison, the Simcoe yarn was very splitty, split on me a lot, and I think this, combined with the slipperiness of the yarn, meant it was quite a frustrating yarn to work with. So in terms of splittiness, clear winner is Four Seasons. Round 5, stitch definition. This one is a little bit hard to say, actually. Neither of them have amazing stitch definition, but they're not terrible either. I actually quite like the way that the Simcoe one has worked up here. I can't really split them in terms of stitch definition. I think that the Simcoe maybe has slightly better stitch definition just because of that kind of sheen or shine that it has to it. But I'm not sure I really like that look. I think it makes the yarn look a little bit cheap. And because it was quite splitty, I think this has sort of undermined the stitch definition of the Simcoe as well. So I think on stitch definition, it's probably a tie. And then the final battle, value for money. So the Simcoe yarn is $2 Australian a ball, and you get 230 metres in that ball, so a little bit less than the Four Seasons. That works out at 0.8 cents a metre. By comparison, the Four Seasons Marvel yarn is $3.15 if you're a Spotlight VIP member, which works out at 1.1 cents per metre. So the Simcoe is definitely the more affordable yarn. So the winner in terms of value for money is Simcoe. So over our 6 rounds, Simcoe has won 3.5 rounds and Marvel 2.5 rounds. So the winner of our head-to-head affordable yarn battle is Simcoe. But having said that, I think these yarns are just so different. So in terms of which one might be a better option for you, I think it really depends on what you're making and how you want to use the yarn. This Simcoe yarn I think would be good for some baby items, for wearables, because it is really soft, has lovely drape, which I think is quite unusual actually for affordable acrylic yarn. Having said that, it's really annoying to work with. It's splitty, and I don't think I would want to spend too long crocheting with this, as I'd get really frustrated with it. The Four Seasons yarn has a much nicer selection of colours, and I think could be really good for anything that you want to have a little bit of strength to it, a bit of stiffness. I also suspect it would be quite a durable yarn. I wouldn't use it for a wearable, it just doesn't feel nice. Overall, I wasn't particularly impressed with either of these yarns. The Simcoe is just too hard to work with, and the Four Seasons just doesn't feel nice. But let me know in the comments, have you used either of these yarns? Do you like them? Is there anything you don't like about them? My suspicion is that there will be other affordable yarns out there that will feel just as nice as the Simcoe yarn, but will be as easy to work with as the Four Seasons Marvel yarn. So I'm going to keep doing these reviews to see if I can find a better affordable yarn option for Australian crochet makers. Is there another affordable yarn that you really love? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching this video in my search to find the best affordable yarn. Hope you enjoyed crocheting with me this afternoon, and happy crafting.